Spring is in the air and it's time for one of my favorite treats. It's not super sweet though. They're hot cross buns. 1 penny, 2 penny, hot cross buns. This is like a delicious little roll of sweetened, enriched, spiced bread filled with the fruit of your choice. It's topped with a cross, a little glaze, and it's just plain delicious. I can't think of anything that says springtime more than this. Hey, you're watching Preppy Kitchen, where I, John Cannell, teach you how to make delicious homemade dishes to share with your family and friends. These hot cross buns are a delicious treat that you're gonna be making over and over, so let's get started. First off, we're gonna zest an orange, and if your kids ate your oranges, you can zest a little tangerine instead. It's basically the same. So I'm gonna zest it really quick and set it aside, but we will be using the juice. If you're doing oranges, 1 orange is fine. If you're doing little tiny tangerines for some reason, use 2. About a tablespoon of zest later, this can get set aside, and now let's talk about the dried fruit. Hot cross buns can use any kind of dried fruit you'd like. You can use like dried apple, whatever. Today we're using raisins, it's the most commonly available, but I will tell you that raisins are not my absolute favorite ingredient, so we're gonna gussy them up a bit. So squeeze a few tablespoons of orange juice over your raisins, and if you're in the mood, you could use a tablespoon or 2 of dark rum. Just pour it over. The rum is of course optional, but if you've seen my carrot cake video, which you can click up here for, you know that they are not my favorite thing to eat unless they're soaked in rum. So for a personal treat, I'm gonna soak them in rum. Give it a little mix, and we're gonna microwave this for like 45 seconds so the raisins plump up a bit. These are out of the microwave and they smell so good. That rum and orange juice really makes a difference, so I highly recommend, although both are kind of optional. Okay, set that aside, and now it's time for the dry ingredients. I'm sifting everything into the bowl of my stand mixer using a sifter, but it's all on a scale, so I don't have to use measuring cups or anything. It's so much easier and more accurate. All right, 3 2/3 cups or 440 grams of all-purpose flour. In you go. 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of packed light brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. These hot cross buns are getting a lot of spices, but if you want, cinnamon is fine. It's delicious. So 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, but if you want to keep going, you can do 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. Ooh, 1/4 teaspoon of my favorite, cardamom, so aromatic. And I'm doing 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, but whenever I use nutmeg, it's always freshly ground. It tastes so much better that way. I mean, all spices do, but especially nutmeg in my opinion. Use a microplane. Just add that in there. Oh, so good. All right, let's sift it out now. And before I finish sifting it out, I will be adding in my yeast. You have 2 options for this recipe. If you're gonna do a instant yeast like I am, right into the dry ingredients. If you're using the rapid yeast, then into the wet ingredients. The instant yeast is the same, it just has smaller granules. So you don't have to worry about any of that pre-mixing you do the other stuff. My other note for you is that when you open your packet of yeast and you dump it out, that's not all the yeast. Look at this. It's completely full of yeast on the inside. So just use your finger and get it all out of there. It likes to stick to the envelope. Sift it out. And now we have a ton of this brown sugar, which I wanted to break up in the sifter so there's no lumps of brown sugar being annoying in the dough. Okay. We're done with the scale. I can get set aside. Let's give everything a whisk and set it aside. For the wet ingredients, we're using 1/2 cup of sour cream, and I just can't help myself. Sour cream gives you this nice moisture, and if you don't have it, you can use buttermilk instead, I suppose. 1/2 cup or 120 ml of whole milk. In you go. A tablespoon of vanilla, and 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temperature. It can be a bit cold, but we're gonna warm everything up so it's gonna melt either way. Okay, this delicious concoction is gonna go into the microwave now, and we're gonna, zap it for 30 seconds at a time and mix, mix, mix in between. We want it to be nice and warm because when we come back, that yeast needs to be activated. So we're aiming for a little bit over 110. By the time we pour it in, it needs to be 110. My butter is all melted, mixture's mixed up, and we're at 120, which is a bit warm. However, this ice cold counter is gonna cool it down ASAP. And don't think I forgot about that orange zest. So right now we're gonna add that in. And it's gonna infuse into our mixture and just make everything yummy, scrummy, delicious. Making a bread is like a bit of work that people are not necessarily used to if you normally make cakes or cupcakes or quick breads. There's the rising time, etc. So I always think you should make it worth your while by adding in all the flavors to make it completely delicious. Otherwise, like, just go buy it. Hello. Okay, this is nice and infused, so it's time to get our stand mixer and get to work. Before that though, just crack an egg into a bowl and give it a quick stir. Okay, everything's nice and warm now, so it's time to mix the dough together. Get that dough hook out. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can of course use an electric hand mixer with those little dough swirly attachments. While this runs on low, we're gonna carefully pour it in. Use your spatula to get the rest of that out there. Okay, so this is gonna take a minute or two. You wanna have the dough come together and then be tacky but not sticky. So you'll see what that means in a second. For now, just let it run. You can take it off to level 2 if you want. It's funny because at first it seems like there might not be enough moisture in here and you're just gonna have a bunch of like flour, but it does come together. It just takes a minute. Okay, and while this is running, don't forget, 1 egg gets just drizzled in there. So now it's all come together. However, it's definitely super sticky. So let it run for a bit, and when you think it's ready, we'll test it out. Of course, unlike in a cake batter where you're like trying to not overmix it and develop gluten, in a bread you do need to develop the gluten. So there's a lot of mixing, kneading, and letting it rise. It smells so good right now. So good. Let's take a look. So good, it smells so good, I can't even tell you. Okay, so right now it's sticky, but it's not sticking to my fingers, so it's tacky, which means that we're ready to knead it out now. I'm so excited. I would like to see it have a bit more body, so I'm gonna give it just another few seconds. Oh, no, wrong way. Okay, now it's ready to go. So once that dough is tacky and everything seems about right, you can add those raisins in. So sprinkle them around and you're just incorporating them into the dough. Mind you, I'm not adding all the liquid in, I'm just adding the raisins. Mix them in. Okay, those raisins are incorporated, so now it's time to knead the dough out. The dough might seem a bit wet to you, and there's a little bit less flour than the recipe requires in the recipe because you're gonna be kneading it out on a well-floured surface, and by the time you're done kneading, that flour will be incorporated, everything will be perfect. So this takes a few minutes, maybe about 5, but it's actually very relaxing, and what you're gonna see is the dough gets a nice kind of like silky texture on the outside, and it becomes more springy. And just please note that you may have more or less kneading time depending on if you mixed more or less initially. Fold it over, then use these raisins are so good, by the way, I've been snacking on them. Shh, don't tell anyone. I don't even like raisins normally. Press the dough forward with the palm of your hand. If you lose a raisin or two, that's free to snack on or whatever. And this is getting pretty springy already. I'm actually very happy with it. We can take a look at the texture in just a moment. Let's see what this looks like. And as needed, we can add more flour. Like Salt Bae with flour. So I like to turn the dough, use the palm of my hand, and just push forward, turn, bring it in, turn. It's a little pattern. Most of you have probably kneaded dough already. Sometimes it can be really intimidating if you're just doing it for the first or second time. Brian, my cameraman, wants to open up a package of candy. Go ahead. So let's take a little test and see what this is like. You want to see the center is springy to the touch, and it's springing back, but not all the way. It's not done. We need to develop a little bit more gluten for these bread rolls. My kids have gone raisin crazy. They love it in their oatmeal in the morning. I'm like, why? Why would you do this to yourself? But they've been eating them so much, I'm questioning my own taste. Like, maybe raisins are good. I don't know. You can let me know in the comments if you are pro or anti-raisin. I have very strong feelings about it normally. I feel like this is good. So we have our dough here, springing back to the touch. That is ready. This is ready to go into a proofing drawer now, or a nice warm cozy place. I was so excited when I found out because I just forgotten that my oven has a proofing drawer. So it has like a nice warm cozy place for things to live and get warm. Wipe your bowl down with some oil. Then plop your dough in there. Kind of remember what the size was, because when you come back, it's ready for the next step after it's doubled in size. You can cover this with plastic, or I'm using my little handy bonnet, which I love. I would say you want to give it about an hour, maybe to 2 hours. It's a very rich, delicious dough. It's not like some dry, bready, sad dinner roll. So it's gonna need a little bit of extra time to rise up because that yeast has to work a bit harder because of all the fat we pumped into there. One last thing, if you don't have a proofing drawer, I like to just set my oven to like 120, then turn it off, pop the dough in there, and just leave it closed. It'll be nice and cozy. Perfect for dough to rise in. Okay, so a couple hours went by, took the kids for a walk. It was a nice time, and in the meantime, look at this. What? Huge. And I wish you could smell it. It smells amazing. All right, we're gonna dump this out onto a lightly floured surface. And here's the deal. You don't have to use a scale for this. You can totally eyeball your rolls, but I'm a little bit crazy, so I will be weighing them out to be about 70 grams each. Use a bench scraper. I always use this for decorating cakes, so I get a kick out of using it for its intended purpose, which is to cut dough. Ooh, a little bit big. Okay, that's good. Rolling a roll is so easy, but it does take just a little bit of technique. Grab the corners like this, okay? And now we're going to place it face down, and then with our hand, make a tight ball here. Roll it around like this. Actually, this should be less floured. So gather the sides up, place the rounded side face up, and then roll it into a ball. And then you have a nice, perfect little dinner roll. If you see some raisins poking through, that's totally fine, unless it isn't, in which case pick them out. It's your choice. You don't have to overwork the dough. Just a little bit of these small circle motions will bring it together into a nice ball. And just repeat that process for all of your rolls. You might have one at the very end that's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. In Elizabethan times, these hot crust buns were highly regulated, and you could only make them during certain times of year, of course, and funerals. They tried to stamp them out, but it didn't work. People liked their hot crust buns too much. Here are my rolls. I'm just gonna space them a little bit more evenly because I don't want anyone to be crowded when they have their second rise. This is gonna go into a warm place. Once again, you could put it in your oven or just like let it hang out if it's a nice warm day. You will, however, wanna cover them. So either cover them in plastic or a very slightly damp towel. We'll be back once they've significantly increased in size with the magic of editing. 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot crust buns. That's going in the final take. It smells amazing in here. Amazing, let me just tell you that. And those rolls have had their second rise. They're ready to go into the oven right after we make those crosses and do our egg wash. So into a bowl, we have 1/3 of a cup of flour and then 1/4 cup of water. All we're doing right now is just making a paste, if you will. So it just has to be pipeable. Don't worry about it too much. As long as you have the correct piping consistency, everything's gonna be okay. Mix, mix, mix. That's good. See this? Nice pipeable consistency. The other thing we have to do is just make a simple egg wash in case you're not aware. 1 egg and then a tablespoon of cream, or half and half. And then just mix it up. Okay, we can set that aside now and get our rolls out. I'm so excited. Transfer your flour slurry into a piping bag or a plastic bag with the tip snipped off, or a perfectly rolled piece of parchment paper because you went to pastry school. So excited about this. Okay, so snip the tip off of it. So for the cross, it's gonna be easiest if you just pipe in a slow and controlled fashion, and then do one stripe and then the other way. So just go all the way across, slow and steady.
I thought you did that after you scored it.
Stop the presses. You need to do the egg wash first. I will admit my error. I'm not going to fix it with editing. So let's gently brush that egg wash onto here. What cross-piped on first? I don't know what you're talking about. So like, yes, baking is a science, but it's actually pretty forgiving as long as you don't like panic. Once you panic, things can go wrong. It's like drowning. So just be gentle. I have a set of soft brushes I use for my egg washes because the really coarse ones that you get all of the times can kind of just mar the surface too much. They manipulate the dough. We want to be gentle with these buns. Say it with me, hot cross buns. I wonder if that's like a royalty-free song we can use in this. 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. All right, after the egg wash, now it's time for that cross. So gently, gently, let's pipe it across one side first. And as you're going, just be careful at the edge. So with that first stripe completed, now we can turn these around and do our next set. And this, by the way, is reminding me of my cinnamon roll recipe, which you should click up here for. They are the best cinnamon rolls I've ever had in my life. And I'm saying that as the person who created the recipe, so a little biased, but you trust me, right? Hot cross buns are all crossed. They're gonna go into the oven at 375 F now. That would be like gas mark 4 plus a little extra. I'm still not sure how that works exactly. I got some very, very helpful advice in one of the last videos though, so I appreciate everyone who chimed in and let me know about gas marks. It's very interesting. Into the oven. Out of the oven, piping hot, perfectly golden. I mean, I'm gonna, look at that. That's nice. They're basically ready to eat, but why not add a little bit extra because they are hot cross buns and you made them yourself. So whip up a glaze. You can do a sugar-based glaze, or I made this time an apricot glaze. These are of course best out of the oven, a little bit warm, but if you're making them and you have some extra for the next day, go ahead and just warm them up really briefly, either in the microwave or just pop them into a warm oven just so they kind of heat up and get loose again. That's it. These are ready for some springtime celebrations, but first, a bite. I made a few extra, and before I sneak a bite, let me tell you that you need to check out my cinnamon roll recipe. It is so good, and it's like, oh, amazing, pull apart, melt in your mouth, deliciousness. You'll be eating the whole thing, not sharing it. People be like, what's that smell? And you're like, I don't know. Anyways, but now it's time for a bite. Look at this. What? Oh, it's so like rich and delicious. I know that already because I ate a few. I mean, I wish all bread tasted like this. Nice spices, a beautiful aroma, and soaking those raisins in rum and orange juice, it makes all the difference in the world. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.